Good morning. Hope you are doing well this fine morning. It's another beautiful day here in New Zealand. And hey, the Olympics just finished, and I think the Paralympics are going on right now. And New Zealand's made a very good showing. Um, and thinking about when these Olympic athletes who train, many of them most of their lives, if not all their lives, and work for that opportunity to participate in these games, to show their skill and their talent, and to achieve that highest level of athleticism. And they're looking for, and when those matches and those games are over, and then the ones who win those, they have the award ceremony, the medal ceremonies, and of course the person in first gets the gold, and then you have the silver and the bronze, and they stand there so proudly receiving that reward for all those years of effort that they had put into that. And it's exciting time, and the flags come down, and then they play the national anthems from those countries, and it's a proud moment and of achievement for receiving those things, and we're proud of those people from our countries who go out and win those things. I was thinking this morning about the book of Job, and there's a whole lot that can be said about Job. But we remember that Job, in Job chapter 1, it describes him as a good man, a righteous man who sought to fear God. He avoided evil, and he lived a righteous life, right? And he sought to emulate that to his family, and he did all those things. Then horrific things happen to him, right? He loses his wealth. He loses his children all die in a horrific accidents. He gets touched with a boils, a horrific disease, and his wife kind of turns her back on him, and so he's kind of literally, he was humanly speaking at the top of the world, and now he's literally lost absolutely everything. And he had his friends come to visit him, and in the book of Job, most of the book is concerned with three of Job's friends bringing. They're having kind of this conversation back and forth, where one friend will say something, that Job will respond, and then another friend will say something, and then Job will respond, and a lot of it is they're trying to get Job to recognize that Job is in the position because of his great sin, and Job is kind of refuting that, and this is kind of this great back and forth thing. But I want to look at just one of the arguments, and look at Job chapter 22, and this is Eliphaz, right, the Temanite. So he comes to Job, and he comes and he makes, and we don't have time to look at everything, but real quickly he says this to Job. He says this: "Is not thy wickedness great, and thine iniquities infinite?" He's like, Job, this is your fault, right? The fact that you are going through this great trial in your life is because you're a wicked and sinful person. He says, Job, you're a hypocrite. And he goes on to describe things that Job hadn't done. All these things are your fault. He's saying the bad things that are happening in your life, Job, is because of you, right? The fact that your children died in horrific accidents, well, that's your fault, Job, because you sinned. He calls them a hypocrite. We'll look down at verse 23, skip down a little bit. He says this: "But if thou return to the Almighty, thou shalt be built up, thou shalt put away iniquity from thy tabernacles." Now, first off, he's assuming that Job is away from God, that the reason for these bad things happening is because of Job's some terrible sin that Job has done, that obviously he cannot be right with God because bad things are happening to him. He's making that assumption right off, and that he needs to return to him. All right, then he says this, verse 24. Then shalt thou lay up gold as dust, and the gold of Ophir as the stones of brooks. Yea, the Almighty shall be thy defense, and thou shalt have plenty of silver. Right? Um, and right, he's saying that if you would just return, Job, if you would just come back to God, if you would just stop your sinning, that God's going to restore your wealth. You're gonna get this. You're gonna be able to get gold as dust, right? And dust is everywhere. You have plenty of riches, right? It's like the Almighty shall be that. He said, "Thou shalt have plenty of silver." You'll have lots of silver, right? Look at verse 26. For then shalt thou have thy delight in the Almighty, and shall lift up thy face unto God. He says, then, right? He says. Right, this is that this and then if you do this, then this will happen, right? He says if you return to God, right, then you're going to receive all these physical riches, and then God will show His love for you, right? He's implying that the physical riches and the physical things of this world are a direct result of Job's behavior. All right. So let's look at Job's response in chapter 23. Look at verse number 3. He says, "Oh, that I knew where I might find him, that I might come even to his seat." Speaking of God, right? He's saying, man, if I could walk up to heaven's gates right now and knock on the door and say, God, let me in, and let me tell you my cause. Let me tell you why I shouldn't be where I am. And so he goes through this. Look at down at verse number 8. He says, "Behold, I go forward, but he is not there, and backward, but I cannot perceive him. On the left hand where he doth work, but I cannot behold him. He hideth himself on the right hand, that I cannot see him." See, he says, I can't. If I could physically find God, I would. He says, I'm in this horrible, dark trial. My kids have been killed. My wealth has been taken away. I'm suffering this horrific disease. I look in front of me, and I could see the faces of my dead children. I look to my right. I could see my wealth being taken away. I look to my left. I could see my wife turning her back on me, and I can't see God in all my trials. And yet, even in this state, Job says this. Even though he cannot see God, he says this, "But he knoweth the way that I take." Boy, that God knows the way that he takes. Hey, even in our deepest and darkest trial, where our fear and anxiety seeks to destroy our spirits, seeks to bring us down, even when we can't see God anywhere, he's there. "But he knoweth the way that I take." Hey, God is there. God knows what we are going through. God knows. Look at the rest of that verse. "When he hath tried me, I shall come forth as gold." A life as his insistence that God's blessing will be shown in the physical gaining of wealth, literally the prosperity gospel, that if you would just stop sinning and turn to God, that you will receive all this wealth. Job says this, that even in my deepest, darkest place, when I can't see God, when I can't even fathom to perceive where he is at in this situation, I know that he is there. I know that God sees what I'm doing. I know God sees my situation that I'm in. And that when I go through this trial, I'm not looking for that physical reward at the end. I'm not looking for that gold medal to be placed over my head. No, I'm looking to come through this trial as gold, because when gold comes through the furnace, it becomes refined, it becomes better. That Job is not looking for that temporal reward. He is looking to come through and be a better person for it by looking to God. One of my favorite verses. "But he knoweth the way that I take. When he hath tried me, I shall come forth as gold." Hey, we're living in hard times. We're living in this age of fear and anxiety and pandemics and diseases and wars everywhere. But let's just remember, God knows the way that we take. And let's have that mindset, that Job, that when God tries us, that we were going to come through this trial as gold. We're not looking for rewards. We're not looking for physical blessings. We're looking to live right and have the right mindset. And God will help us through that. Hey, look to God. Spend time with Jesus. Have you read your Bible this week? Love you guys very much. Hope you have a good day. Take care.